All right.
Military time.
Yeah.
Welcome to the September 6th, 2023 meeting of the Lyman Planning Board. This meeting will come to order. This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you have the right to hear everything that is being said and look at all exhibits that are offered. If the board votes to go into executive session, the reason for the same shall be stated. Please notify the board chair if you are having difficulty seeing or hearing. This meeting is being recorded for YouTube. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinance or ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project, it will prepare a written opinion, which will be forwarded within 7 days. The board works from a prepared agenda. We'll be considering this meeting's items in the following order. Roll call, Violet Pine subdivision, Dana Gagnon, 18 Stallion Lane, wants to open a vehicle inspection station, his existing garage. Pamela Mooney Maxon and Shane Maxon, 36 Cottage Street, map 20, lot 3, 14 Vernal Lane, map 6, lot 41, A and 7B, earth movement activities without a permit, discuss setting a site walk. Mary Morning, 382 Goodwin's Mills Road, reviewing conditional use permit, CEO updates, minutes, and old business and mail.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could I please request that you move number 4, Mary Morning, in front of 3? Because we do have a fire chief here this evening, and he has some information.
Yep.
And he needs to leave by 7:30, so
What, has he got a fire to go to?
I think he's got fire to go, yeah.
Well, that happens, we know.
Okay, Brendan, did we have a letter from the town attorney about,
Roll call first.
roll call, excuse me.
Kelly Demers, 10 Partridge Way.
Don Hernan, 33 Murphy's Way.
Joe Wagner, 26 Day Road.
Road T2, 357 Walker Road.
Cecile Dupuy, 53 Chapel Shores Road.
Kevin Vare, 64 Bugging Pond Road.
I think Julie has that for you.
I put a copy of the letter from the town attorney on regarding the Bartlett Pines Phase 3 abandonment. Everybody got one
Think so.
to look through. All you have to do is sign it, get it notarized if you agree to it. If you want to take some time to look it over, it doesn't have to be signed today.
And there's a notice of abandonment that you're going to attach to it. It says Exhibit A, which I think we may have a copy somewhere.
I believe we do have a copy of that.
Yeah.
And we have the letter from the Waterboro Planning Board
Right.
that they,
Okay. This is the one that the town attorney wrote this.
yes, that came directly from them.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the questions I would have is, does this clearly exonerate Mr. Boudreau of any responsibility for the installation of the cistern?
Well, that's what it looks like.
Okay. And there might be pose a question to Chief DeRose. Once again, in your opinion, is a cistern necessary in that particular neighborhood? Yeah, or mentioned before some water source, but
Right, my feeling is there's supposed to be one there by the rules and regulations at one point. Then, if there's additional dwellings that have been built, then they should have some sort of fire protection.
What did you say?
I said if there was additional dwellings built, then there should be some sort of fire protection.
Well, what's the total there? 9? Aren't there 9 dwellings? Thought there was 6, and then didn't he split his lot?
But those are the 3 that were pulled out of the subdivision,
Oh.
so they're no longer under that jurisdiction.
Which self is its own subdivision.
Hey, Matt, can you say roughly how far is the nearest water source?
The nearest water source to Lyman is a new hydrant that was just placed at MX 207.
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's a cistern on, I believe it's Day Farm Road in Hollis, and there's another cistern off the, Sarah Vaughn Road in Hollis as well.
Okay.
Well, this has got 6 houses, right?
That's more than that because there's the original 3 or 4 lot subdivision, which was phase 1, which is on the opposite side that they're not showing on these plans, and I was looking through my paperwork.
In Waterboro, right?
Right, it's all in Waterboro.
The subdivision part is now in
I see.
Waterboro.
I mean, I don't see how we can, personally, I don't see how we can force anybody there to put a cistern in because whatever the cost is, I don't see where there's any legal, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see any legal way for the planning board to impose the establishment of cistern there. I think it would be nice to have a cistern, but as the saying goes, who pays for it? And then I guess he took those phase 3, those 3 lots are out of the subdivision. So that just leaves phases 1 and 2,
Correct.
which I don't know how many, I think there's only 6. Maybe I'm wrong, but so, I mean, it's nice to have a cistern, but can we justify? We can't, I don't see any justification for requiring.
Not suggesting that, I'm just asking if there's, in the chief's professional opinion, should there be one? And if so, maybe suggesting to the homeowners association over there that there may be some program out there that they can use. I mentioned one to you before, Matt, the USDA Community Wildfire Defense Grant Program. HOAs can apply for that. So maybe we're just going to communicate that to them and let them take it from there.
Again, my concern is there are properties that are in the subdivision that have homeowners insurance policies that are written based on a cistern being present. God forbid something happens, they go to file a claim against their homeowners insurance policy, the conditions aren't met,
I
the
think
claim is denied.
I don't think that's right, accurate. How can their homeowner policy be written on thinking a cistern's there? The cistern's never been there. It's been was shown on a subdivision map, but it's never been installed. So, I mean, if somebody writes a homeowner policy, how do they even know a cistern was supposed to be there?
I think they have the right to assume that a recorded plan is an as-built plan.
Oh, boy.
Right, because those houses were built under certain stipulations and conditions. That which the internal infrastructure of the subdivision was to be completed, including the installation of a cistern.
Would that be outside of our purview?
Yeah.
Now, who's liable? Something happens, something happens to a house, God forbid.
The homeowner.
The homeowner's insurance policy is denied because the cistern wasn't placed. They come back to the municipalities and say, why didn't you require a cistern? We wrote this policy because there's supposed to be a cistern. I know my homeowner's insurance is cheaper because I'm 1 mile from the fire department. That was a question asked when I bought my house. How close are you?
And the fire pond that is also shown on that plan does not exist.
Oh.
I know when the other planning
Great.
board was here, they said
Great.
it does, and I drove out there, it's not there, it's all overgrown.
Mhm.
So,
Now, is there a hydrant near Town Line Restaurant?
Sarah Vaughn.
The closest pressurized hydrant in Waterboro is at Bennett Hill Road.
I was just thinking of a dry hydrant where you throw a hard suction on it.
Yeah, no, in MX 207's parking lot.
Oh, okay. Yes, that greatly extends response time.
Is property in Waterboro still considered a subdivision?
yes.
That's still considered a subdivision?
Yeah.
Phase 1 and 2,
Right.
yes.
So the subdivision requirement was a cistern, but that's all in Waterboro. And they've washed their hands from this. They signed a paper saying that they're not going to enforce that, right? So do we even have
You don't have any
a
authority.
responsibility or a right to enforce the installation of a cistern? Because the rest of the properties are no longer a subdivision. right?
right?
These are private,
The property we're
privately
talking about,
owned
so-
properties now, so they go under the rule for new construction, which is not a cistern.
And in fact, one of those houses, he just pulled a building permit for a duplex. I know,
I think, I think what the lawyer's saying is, he says that, that's it. So, I mean, I don't see where there's any,
That letter covers the town of Lyman's, by any liability that.
yeah. I mean, I think your idea is good if they could get a grant or something, but that's really not under our purview.
Right.
So I think our choice is to accept this corrective certificate and at least legally, it'll solve the issue, I hope. And that'll be it. If something unfortunate happens up there, that could happen anywhere in town though, really, you get down to it. If you don't have a nearby fire hydrant or a cistern or something, same situation could occur.
Absolutely, but I think that's why the subdivision ordinances and the subdivision rules are in place.
Right, I agree with you 100%, yeah.
And that's the tough part. I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I would like a dry hydrant or a cistern on every corner and every
Sure,
Right.
driveway. So
But-
for me to say, no, I don't want one, that's.
no, I wouldn't expect you to, but I don't see any way the planning board can do anything except accept this certificate.
I agree.
I mean, I don't see any other, if someone wants to work on the wording with a lawyer, but
No, I just don't, it's clear.
And maybe with the understanding, I'll volunteer to contact the chair of the HOA over there. I just mentioned that USDA program and all in their court as to whether or not they proceed.
Right.
Okay.
do we need a motion on this?
I think so, I think we do.
I'll make a motion that the planning board accept the corrective certificate of abandonment of subdivision Bartlett Pines Phase 3 as drafted by the town attorney, Mr. Brad Moore.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor of accepting?
Aye.
Abstained.
Oh, you abstained, okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, what's next? Yeah, I mean, I agree with you in some respects, but I don't know what the hell you're gonna do. I mean, might force them to do it. So, what's next? Oh, pretty.
Dana Gagnon,
Yeah.
Just look at that.
Yeah, just relax. Let's see, this is a,
would you like to go over what you want to do? Or?
You want me to go over? I want to open up a sticker station in a garage. No, it's all existing already. And I just, to get a sticker license, I already got my sticker license, but to get a sticker station, I gotta have a garage, you know, with a name, so.
Do you already operate a business?
I have a business, but not at the house. It's still business.
Not at this location.
No.
That's Mr. Demers about the locations on Stallion, and that's off of,
It's up in Clarksworth Road, just past
Yeah.
the gravel pit.
Yeah.
okay.
We didn't find a specific use on the table to cover this, so I thought, it would be under automobile sales and service, not that there's any sales, but at least under
Service.
service, which does trigger a site plan.
It's general purpose.
So this is not an existing building that you're just adding, doing stickers, you are gonna be starting a new home-based automotive repair service.
Yes.
Including the application of, inspection stickers.
Yes.
Okay.
And is there an annual renewal for your ability to inspect? What we get your, state must give you some sort of licensing.
I have a license.
Okay, and is that, goes for 1 year, 3, 5?
It goes 5 and then you just renew it.
Okay.
But in order to get it,
Getting at is, do they come and inspect the buildings?
yes, the state police will. But I have to, go through this, well, and I have to have a business in order to get a
Right.
license from the state police.
And so a 5-year renewal.
Yeah, that's just for me, but I mean, in the station. But, they'll come back and inspect too.
We'll go through our checklist.
Are you planning on expanding your existing garage, or is this just a?
That's, the garage has that addition
Has
on
the
it.
addition, you just,
But I was gonna put an office on the right side as long as I can continue.
okay, so it's a campground, this is just the way you're sketching.
Yes, that's
program.
ex-
Okay.
And that's the driveway. I had that for Brenda.
So when you do all your oil changes and everything else, I see you're gonna have Clean Harvesting. pick
Yeah,
stuff
Clean
up.
Harbor or probably Auto, they'll take the oil because they have a waste oil furnace. And the same with
How much do you plan on keeping there if we have them come get it? I'm just curious.
probably 55 gallons because that's what I got for drums.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Your number one on the site plan checklist is a plan drawn to scale not smaller than 1/8 equals 40 feet. He's got a building all built already. Yeah.
We were hit before for not requiring one.
I know,
Yeah.
do you have a survey or anything of your property
Yes.
to do? You think you can make a copy of it, and like put your buildings on it, and
Sure.
then the setbacks from the property line? And show your driveway on it?
Yes. I got it right at home in the garage.
Well, that,
Great.
I'd like a copy for the
Okay.
record.
I'll bring it, Brenda.
Okay. All right, name and address of applicant plus the name of proposed development. He's got his name and address in the application, so let's say we can do that. Total floor area, ground coverage, location of each proposed building, structure or addition. All right, your building's 52 by 36, but when you do that with your map, just put the dimensions of most of the buildings on it.
Yes.
Again, that way it's all covered. Okay, a perimeter survey of the parcel made and certified by a registered land surveyor licensed in Maine relating to reference points.
Again, it-
He's got a map,
A
he
map.
said.
Yeah.
He'll be good with that. Okay, 5, all existing proposed setback dimensions, we just talked about that, you're gonna put them on your map. Okay, 6, the size, location, direction, intensity of illumination of all major outdoor lighting apparatus and signs. Are you putting up any more outdoor lights?
Oh, I will if I go forward with this and I put a little office,
Right,
I'll put another floodlight over there.
right, because you just should have that on that.
We're gonna need the location.
Well, if you see that drawing, I think it shows,
You'll need it on the survey with.
yeah,
the house
I
on
will.
there.
I think the garage is already on this survey.
Okay.
It looks like there's an existing one in the garage, but we just need to have it documented that it's available to the public for us to see it.
Number 7, the type, size, location of all incineration devices, you're not gonna be burning anything up there? Not gonna burn tires for heat? or
No,
anything?
no, you can't burn tires for heat.
You're not supposed to.
No.
Okay, number 8, The type, size, location of all machinery likely to generate appreciable noise, the lot lines, as well as estimated decibel level at property lines, not putting an outdoor generator or
No,
anything.
no.
Okay, we're good on that.
I was gonna say, we don't, impact tools don't, we don't need to have anything about that, do we?
No.
I don't think so.
So.
Just wanted to mention it.
9, location, type, and size of all existing and proposed catch basins, storm drainage facilities, wetland streams, and water courses, as well as all utilities, both above and below ground. So you're not changing the layout of the land, nothing of that.
You mentioned the proximity to Swan Brook,
Probably 150 feet.
but would that be something that would be on your map?
Yeah, because it borders my property.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
I'm good with that.
Mhm.
Okay, 10, all existing contours and proposed finished grade elevations of the portion of the site which will be altered. Again, you're not altering the site, you're just gonna use the garage. I think that one's good. 11, location, type, size of all curb, sidewalk, driveways, fences, retaining walls. So you're gonna put the driveway on your map, and that's about all we really need there, I think.
Parking. He
Yes.
said.
The parking, yeah.
Mark, where you're going to have your parking spaces. Is
Like,
this already paved?
yes. We was gonna, if things went forward, we was gonna have it striped and
Mm-hmm.
so.
I'm just curious, how many cars do you expect there?
Well, see, that's, an up and down thing. I mean, it all depends. If somebody comes in, wants an oil change, that's one thing,
Some
whatever.
projects are bigger than
No,
others. I understand
right.
that.
This is just gonna be like a part-time thing for now. I'm continuing doing my rebar. That's what I do. But I'm getting a little old for that, so I want
Right.
to phase into something else.
You're a young guy.
Yeah, no, you come work with me.
Yeah, you're young.
We usually do put a limit on the amount of vehicles you can have in something like this. I mean, I'm not,
Are you talking about at any one time, or can I kind of?
No, we're not gonna
talk
store
about-
vehicles or anything like that.
So like if, a client drops it off in the evening to be worked on the following day, he'll have. it
that's
stored.
fine, but if you're gonna have 15 cars out there,
In
Yeah.
line.
I
you know,
think we
for-
said that you would never have more than 3.
Yeah, 3 to 5. I mean, I got plenty of parking area and plenty of land.
right, I'm just,
And you can't see it from the road. It's not an eyesore or anything.
On his handwritten letter, it said probably 4 to 5 parking spots.
Well, I think what Rod is trying to get to is, say you have half dozen customers that come in, long-term projects, you start
Well, that-
tearing in, and all of a sudden you find, you go to do a pulley, a belt, and all of a sudden, you go to put the new belt on, or you take the old belt off, and all of a sudden, one of the pulleys is bad, so you gotta order the part, and it's 3 weeks out, so that car gets pulled out of the shop and kind of tossed to the side, and then just compounded stuff.
Yeah, I've never had a pot 3 weeks out, but
My suggestion would be to double that. If you're gonna put a number in, put a,
well, I was
put a
thinking
decent
like
number.
10.
Yeah, that's, I think that's what we did,
Just try not.
I think that's what we did off.
yeah, that's
It's
fine.
just something for you to think about.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, I don't want to be Meineke or something. I
I
just,
understand that.
Yeah, just,
Yeah, I'd say put a,
Brenda knows I got enough busy things to
put a
do.
number in there.
It's operational appointment only.
Yeah,
It's not
pretty much,
office.
And you just have one day.
Oh, no, I have, one bay with a lift, and then I have another side to the garage.
But I
too.
mean, you could potentially have someone else work with you.
Yeah, well, I
Do
do, I
cars at
do
once
plan on having one
And do-
person work,
And do
yes.
2 cars at once.
Yes.
So you could, 10 is not a high number, really. You
Well,
could potentially.
I think it's reasonable.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, Ken's,
Yeah, I remember a previous project where the gentleman promised he was not gonna have more
I
than.
know, I drove by it on the way.
Yeah. Right, okay, we're thinking the same line.
Yeah.
35.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
12, all proposed landscaped areas, size and type of plant material upon the premises. I think that one's kind of non-applicable here. It's all done. 13, all existing or proposed right-of-ways, easements, and other legal restrictions which may affect the premises in question. No right of ways or anything?
No.
Okay. 14, property lines of all properties abutting the proposed development, including properties across the street, across the water body, together with the tax map, lot numbers, and property owners' names, and mailing addresses on file at the town office within 10 days of the filing of the application. We'll get that.
Get that.
15, appropriate box in each plan, each page of the plans for the signatures of the planning board. Probably just a lot of notice of decision.
I think just the non-parties.
Right. Okay, documentation of right, title, or interest in the proposed site, I see a deed. Seventeen, an on-site soils investigation report by a Maine State licensed site evaluator. And I don't really think we need that.
Would you have one from the existing property?
I
He would-
think he has a septic plan.
He has a
out
septic
there.
plan.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna put a bathroom or anything in
No,
your garage.
no running water.
Right. 18, the type of any raw finished or waste materials to be stored inside or outside of roof buildings. Now, you're gonna store all your oils and stuff inside,
Yes.
maybe some metal outside. scrap
Yeah,
metal.
and I'll have Dave pick it up,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, 'cause I saw you had a list in here of everything
Yeah.
you planned on having.
I was gonna say, I wouldn't limit the list to this because, I mean, I'm not seeing brake clean. Every garage has brake clean. and-
No, it's
Yeah.
got brake clean in it. now.
Yeah,
I
but you're
mean,
gonna have
I got
30 different,
all that on my MSDs.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
He's got a whole stack of his.
MSDS sheets.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, so 19, traffic data. I don't really believe we need a traffic study.
No. Like you said, he's not running Prompto, so.
20 is any other information or data the planning board determines is necessary to demonstrate compliance with town, state, and federal regulations.
Would we need copies of his license for a mechanic's license or whatever?
I don't think we really need that. You'll have to have that to run the station. I don't know if anybody has anything else.
Having a copy of the state licensing on file.
Probably a good idea.
Because then you have Xerox of that, and photocopy of it.
You guys want it?
But, yeah.
Because number 20 is asking for that, right?
Just ask if we want it.
Yeah,
We want something.
any other information,
Yeah.
so it be documented.
We plan on putting a sign up by the road.
yeah, well, I have to have some kind of sign for the state police
Oh, yeah.
Your license number or whatever.
or business sign, and then he'll put
Yeah,
a,
business sign.
And the sign is something you'll get a permit from Brenda.
Right, that's,
How about
Sign an
hours of
ordinance.
operation?
it'd probably be like 9 to 5, 5 days a week. I don't, like I said,
No Saturday or weekend?
I don't want to make it a full-time. I don't want to put it right off anyways.
See what happens.
I'm sorry, Brendan, what's the category?
I'm sorry.
What category did this fall under again? Auto-
I thought it fell under the automobile sales and service. He won't be doing any sales, but at least.
Right, service.
Yeah.
That's the definition.
That's on the use table?
It's on page 8, page 9.
It's the next time we do an ordinance, I'm gonna number those.
At least this one's in alphabetical order.
Okay, does everybody feel we're ready for a sidewalk on this?
I think so.
You want to set a date for it?
Sure. What's the date? You got to give at least a week's notice, though. I mean,
Yep.
the next meeting.
The next meeting is the 20th, which I will not be at.
Well, I don't know if you would like to do it before the meeting or not. The next meeting is the 20th. I don't know if you want to, where'd everybody go?
Cecile's getting a drink of water because she's having coffee.
Pleasant sense.
I'm good with that. I get back here around 5, so if you want to do it at 5:30.
Yeah, it's just up the road.
Yeah, I mean, that would give Julie time to post it and everything.
Is that good for you? 2 weeks at
Sure.
5:30?
That'd be the
We can come
20th.
up today if you want.
No.
Oh, we gotta post it 'cause it's public.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
And if,
So you had the 20th,
September 20th?
yeah,
at
Yeah.
5:30, fine.
and
And good chance we'll schedule to be at the meeting after.
Okay.
So,
And it's supposed to be open to the public. I mean, because it's like a meeting because there's more than 3 members, there should be 3 members of the planning board. So if the notice says the standard wording is sidewalks are open to the public. So, I mean, I don't know, there'll be any interest, there might be, might not be. But if your neighbors want to come and, that's part of the deal.
Well, my only real neighbor's Jimmy, right there. Well, I mean, he's beside us.
Yeah.
okay, then we're good.
I think we're good.
Looks like you have a great night.
All right, thank you.
I'll see you on the 20th.
I'll get you that.
At 5:30.
What date does it say?
The 20th at 5:30.
They're not a bad word.
You don't know us that well.
Just want to point out that the expression on the site plan table, no surprise here. I don't think we have a definition that coincides exactly with that, but we do have on page 68, auto repair garage, which does fit the bill.
Okay.
Yeah, that's strange. You don't have that in the, I wonder if the wording in the,
Flag that for our committee.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know.
no, purpose description.
The, table.
It's an auto repair
Yeah, see, it
garage.
just says auto sales and service here as well as in the table. It doesn't have,
Yeah. Damn. 514, yeah.
Auto service station.
it's funny that we would have that. Ah, well, that's another issue.
Okay, Caleb Johnson and Shannon Richards.
Looks like we lost the fire chief, huh?
Yeah, we
You
did.
got called out.
Yeah.
I think that Caleb Johnson, Shannon Richards, I think we are here to reconfirm what we've talked about a couple of times in that there, I just read through all the permitted uses in a residential zone. There is no clean way of saying art studios, craft studios, maker studios, where people are going to work with their hands, community center. We're the type of things that both of the letters I've written to you guys in the past. We wrote one last summer. I updated it. I'm not sure if Brenda got copies of those. But both those letters say exactly what we intended to do. That's still what we intend to do. We understand, as you guys do, that your zoning ordinance does not list artist studios, maker studios, the type of space that we're saying in a clean way. So we have to kind of fit within what I believe her name was Patty,
Yep.
our previous code enforcement officer. She suggested, let's use professional services. Define as the definition of that. Maybe we don't cleanly fit into that. I understand that we're here, so, we can, so that you guys can say clearly to our code enforcement officer, we're good with that as the planning board because there is not a clean definition for what we are proposing to use the building for. So in our understanding, we've been down the road twice. Happy to be here again. We intend the building is demolition of the second phase to just get rid of bad stuff that's happened since 1940 when they built the original Cousins School. Demolition gets rid of some bad stuff in the 80s and 90s starting tomorrow. Our building permit is ready to go. We had a great meeting with Brenda, myself, our construction manager from our building company, with the fire chief, Matt. And he felt really good about the building, the safety of the building, the improvements we were doing. You know, from my perspective, he was giving us a few thumbs up. He reviewed the life safety plan and he reviewed the letter from the state fire marshal. So my understanding, and Brenda can clarify, is that he was here to speak about his findings there. He's not here. I hope we don't have to come back another time, but we will if necessary. So we're here to answer any questions. There is no change on our part since last time we've been here and since last summer. We still intend to use the building as a place where artists, makers, small business people who need studio space do things. It is not a retail facility. It is not a car facility. It is not any of the other stuff. It's what we said it was.
Community-based function.
Community-based function with a ball field on it.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah.
My biggest thing was, I think sprinkler systems.
Yep.
And when was this? I did notice that the letter from the fire chief as of 8/29. Additionally, if this is the last paragraph, if what was referred to as phase 1 is allowed to continue to be occupied, then the following shall occur immediately. Restoration of the automatic fire alarm system is in the occupied spaces and fire rated doors installed, so on and so forth.
And it's all I was self-managing phase 1.
Mhm.
And, whether it was my issue or my electrician's issue, never scheduled the final walkthrough for the electrical. And so as a result of that, we're looking at these old school fire alarms. I'm thinking we're good. My electrician came through. We pulled the permits, blah, blah, blah. The fire chief is like, those smoke alarms don't look right. So fine, we're adding that to the scope. We'll update the fire alarms. I personally think it's a bit much to make us change out all the fire rated doors from the 1960s because they didn't have the proper UL tags. We will do it at great expense, and we will upgrade all of the rest of the doors in the building to our doors. So no argument with the fire chief there. We will add that to the scope. We will add it to the drawings so that Brenda has record of it. All the doors between studio spaces and hallways will have a UL rated 1 hour door. Even though they're already there, they're just not tagged. So, fine.
They won't look quite as nice.
So that's, that will be happening, what the fire chief said. I have no bones to pick with that, other than it's an expense. We'll pay it.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we're gonna have to. The only problem, one problem I have is that we're gonna have to, I think we're gonna have to, well, I'm gonna say have to, but it seems like we ought to change these conditions of approval. Because the ones you're operating under now are dated August 17th.
Yep.
Of 22. And you're not going to meet one of those conditions as it's written. I'm not saying it couldn't be changed.
Yeah, I think you should change it for the record that in lieu of the fire suppression system, which in lieu of that, we are providing a state fire marshal and local fire chief approved life safety plan by a registered architect that is in compliance with an NFPA as well as the IBC codes. All of that is true. If you guys want to say co-compliant life safety systems, that's what we're providing in lieu of a sprinkler system. And it's approved by the state and the local, as far as I understand it. So, yeah, I think we should change that. And then so that
Got to change it.
10 years from now, when we're, standing here and the people here may be different, they're not like, wait a minute, this is professional services. Like, I don't know if you want to write something in, we understand these would be, these are, the professional services that are intended and approved are for what I wrote you in our letter last summer and this summer. Because I don't think Brenda wants to have us here, twice a year. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you guys do. We're doing what we said we were going to do. And the best thing we can come up with is professional services, unless we want to
Well,
change the
actually,
ordinance.
it's professional offices is what it says.
Professional
in there.
offices. So that's the best we can come up with. If you guys have a better solution, let's change to that better solution so that everybody is less bothered by the fact that we don't cleanly fit into a category listed on your ordinance.
I'm not bothered by anything except that the only thing that's legal is this document. And
Which document are you looking at, sir?
I'm talking about the notice of decision dated August 20, where is it?
August 22nd.
Let's change it then. I'm all for it. Let's
Yeah,
get it
I
going.
know that, but I'm just trying to point out that someone's gonna have to sit down and write out the changes here, and we ought to put in there what he's allowed to do, what the applicant's allowed to do, because this is what gets recorded in York County. It's already been recorded, and you should have a recorded, in fact, I think you have the original. I believe you have the original.
Probably, I
We
don't know.
sent it to you, I believe.
Yeah.
And the only question I would have to the planning board is, or maybe to Brenda too, are the, I don't want to call them changes, but are the differences between what is written in here and what the applicants are proposing sufficient that we need to have any public hearing or anything else or blah, 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 blah? I mean, because we put in professional offices, and I guess you, at the time, you were talking about like industrial condos, as I remembered a year ago, or something like that. Not condos,
It's
but
really not
industrial.
that way. It's really, I understand maybe that the letter we wrote last summer to accompany our application and the letter we wrote this summer, maybe those can't be part of this discussion.
Oh, they can be.
Great. So it's what we said in those letters. It's not.
I know, but what I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you is,
Yeah.
you can say what you want to say, but what we've written right now is this, so we have to change this.
Can we
to make it-
amend, can we put our letter and say that we accept the letters written on June 2022 and July 2023 as a statement that we accept? Okay, then
Nah.
I can have my
I don't-
secretary write up a new letter
Well,
that you can accept, like, what?
Brenda's got something to say, I think.
Okay. So,
Maybe there's a way to fix this up here.
and because I came in on the hind end of all of
Right,
this.
I know.
So what I did is I went back and I printed off every document I could find, all of the minutes, the application, all the dialogue from the public hearing, so that I could maybe get on the same page as you. Because my job is to enforce your decision. So I need to understand your decision. So I'm not here to stir things up or make things difficult. I just want to understand your decision. I don't think we have a problem with the use of an artisan studio in a professional service. I really don't. I think maybe it's pushing the envelope a little bit if you want to look
Okay.
at our definition and be, but we can't think that way. We have to have some wiggle room on some of these things.
It's pretty much what Patty said last.
And this table, I mean, it's very sparse to begin with.
I
think
know.
it's deplorable, it really is. Now, that being said, and if we were to say, okay, the artisans, because even the definition of a professional office is a limited sale. So if someone is creating wonderful paintings and people come in and want to buy it, I think that would fall under that. It's not like you're buying cartons of stuff and having it delivered, and putting it on a shelf. So, it's not retail, it's selling what you've created. So I think that would even fit into that. Maybe not great, but I think it's reasonable, and I think we can all live with it. What I don't have, what I am struggling with, is I have, in everything that I've read, in the initial letter, I think it talked about phase 1, phase 2. I didn't see any dialogue about phase 1, phase 2. So I see that as the whole building. Now, what I'm asking is that what you understood and is that what you intended?
don't
So
think
if phase one was supposed to be a boat repair place, which isn't allowed in the residential area,
Right.
and a plant growing, if that's what you thought was going to happen, and that's
No.
what you want this to be, then I'll enforce that. But it changes everything. Because it's a use in there that isn't always compatible with your professional office building. And, Marcel, I've been trying to get him out there, and he's telling me that if he's inspecting a unit that's intended to be a professional office, that's entirely different requirements and criteria than a boat storage, a boat repair place. Now, is that boat repair, is that a business or is it a hobby? And if it's a hobby, if it's property owner's hobby, are you okay with that being in a professional building? That's what I'm asking you. And if you say, yeah, we have no problem with that, then I'll give them their occupancy permit for the two units. The letter from the fire marshal did say that while he didn't need a state permit for the building as a whole, each unit needs it separately, which really concerns me because that's a lot of work for us. So every time he rents that out to someone,
Oh, no.
that's what it says. And
But that's what they said last time. That's no change. They said when you have a tenant in there, they
I don't
just
think we
want.
had any letter from the state fire marshal
No, we
last
didn't.
time.
No,
it didn't.
but I think Patty said that when I was here.
I don't know. You got the memory.
We don't need the planning board to say
No, you
it's
guys don't
okay
have to.
to have a painter in a studio. What we need to have say is we have to have a building permit for the tenant improvement. If there's no tenant improvement, I don't see why we don't, like, I would think that Brenda, you could just issue that. Now, if there's a tenant improvement, I have a woman who needs a fan to exhaust because she's using some glue or something, then okay, I'll get a permit for the fan, for the electrical or whatever, it's a tenant improvement.
what we're talking about here is there's a lot of diversity. So an architect, an attorney, someone like that
Not allowed in our building, by the way.
is, and I'm not saying it's not allowed. What I'm saying is the criteria for that is very different.
Mhm.
And I'm still hung up on the boat repair. That changed.
So there is no boat repair. Let me clarify this. Let me, on 2 points. I think that the best definition of what we're doing, let's write it in here. Brenda, you just said, this is a facility intended to give space for professional artisans. That is genuinely what it is. Now go up to the Portland Museum of Art. You will see a lapstrake drake, white oak frame with cedar planking canoe that is longer than the boat I did. This person is in the Portland Museum of Art, built that in a studio, and we are now treasuring it as the state of Maine. Go over to the plant shop that Shannon owns. The plants that those are being created for go in artisan created ceramic pots and are sold to businesses in Portland. Now we can start talking about, is it an artisan? Is it an office? Is it whatever? Do we really want to, as the town of Lyman, citizens start to parse out what's artists, what's artisans, what's office? I'm not interested in it. And let's just be clear. We have a commercial building that we are putting back into use. We're investing $1 million into this building. We have told you what we're going to do. The best definition to date is exactly what Brenda said. This is a space for artisans, and this is a space for our local kids to come and play Little League, which they've always done. This is not a single-family residence. This is in the midst of one of the biggest stretches in Lyman of commercial buildings. So-
Wait a minute.
Residential zone.
Go ahead, Brenda.
That sounds cool. Let's retract my last statement. You guys are upset by that. I don't care.
Well,
My point being,
You don't look at that-
this
wait
is
a
an
minute.
artisan space. This is an artisan space. What do you guys need from us to
Would you
just approve
practice
it?
listening for a minute? Please, could you listen?
Go for it.
Thank you. Thank you. This is our
Carry
meeting,
on.
not your meeting. Let's put it that way, number one. Number two, Brenda is the one here, is the code enforcement officer, supposed to enforce the decisions that the planning board makes. We have made a decision as of last summer that gave you based on your submittals. We wrote up a decision, a notice of decision. It's been registered in York County Registry of Deeds. That's what the legal document we're going for. What you're asking for, whether you want to state it that way or not, is to modify that. That's
I want to
what,
modify one thing.
wait, would you
One-
please
two
let me
things.
say what I'm
Two
trying to
things.
say before you jump in and throw your 2 cents in again? This is, whether you like it or not, this is in a residential area, okay? It's a residential zone. It's not a general purpose zone. It's not a commercial zone. Whether you like that, whether the town should change that, is another total subject. I'm sorry to get excited about this, but I'm just getting tired of hearing yappity, yappity, yappity.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm
do
sick
this,
of the
this, and
yappity
this,
yappity
and I'm
too. We're
trying
doing
to-
what we said we're gonna do. Let's carry on.
I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to say, what I'm trying to say is this. The planning board's gonna have to change this notice of decision based on the facts that we get and the input from the code enforcement officer and the applicant. And that's what's gonna have to be redone and resubmitted to the York County Registry of Deeds to make this a legal document. Otherwise, you don't have a leg to stand on for what some of the things you might be doing. Okay, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time. It's a good use of the school district. I mean, the old school building, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a very good use. It can be very good for the town. But please, please do not come in and say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, because that's not going to happen. You're going to have to meet the requirements of our ordinance as written. If you don't want to do that, I'm going to have a problem with it.
We already have. You've approved it. There's no problem. I'm asking for 2 changes. Number one, you've granted me. Extend my ability to put in a septic system. You said yes. I will put in a brand new septic system at that school. Done. Now I'm asking, accept the fire marshal and the local fire chief's decision. We have written decision that instead of a sprinkler system, which is the other condition, that we meet the requirement for life safety. Sprinklers are about life safety. State fire marshal says we're good. Fire chief says we're good. So rewrite your decision in a way that makes you pleased as the planning board to accept the fire marshal and the fire chief's decision on number 2, number 3, number 1, whatever it is. You've already said yes to the extension on the septic system. I'm asking you for one more modification. That is it. That's all. I'm not asking for anything else. Allow me to use the state fire marshal letter. You have it. The fire chief letter. You have it. To say, I meet life safety requirements at this old school building. They've said we do. Accept that in lieu of modify your letter, do what you need. That's all I'm asking for.
Brenda?
What most people don't understand is the planning board is responsible for the use of properties. What the fire marshal said, what the fire chief said, that really falls under my purview. So is the building part of it is mine. I can deal with that. We can figure that out.
Mhm.
What I want to know is the use that is in there now conducive to what you intended when you passed the approval for this site plan review? And I just want to know that from you, and how do we document that? How do we fix it? So I can do an occupancy permit, so we can go on phase 2. Because I won't move from phase 1 until that's compliant, and then we can go into phase 2. Because to me, the fire marshal's letter, the fire chief's letter, that's important. But that's not what I'm struggling with right now. I'm struggling with the use. What do you want the use to be out there? And it is clearly in a residential area. You've got subdivisions on both sides of the road, sprawling all the way out behind there.
And behind.
And it is a residential area. I don't care that there was a church. I don't care that you have a contract with R&R. I don't care that there was a school.
Do you care, is it okay in a any residential area to put a Little League field there? Is that okay?
Planning board permission.
So do we need your permission, or should we cancel the Little League's contract with us? Because it's not used. It's not permitted. You haven't stated it. So as of today, shall we say Little League is illegal on this site because it's in a residential zone?
Can I point out something that was brought up at the public hearing? That someone was talking about retail activity in that building.
There's no retail. I've never sold a thing.
If you're going to rent to a service that's going to have customers, and there's an exchange of money, that's retail.
Hasn't happened.
And then the planning board would require a traffic study for each of those. Because
Again,
you
it
have
hasn't
customers
happened. We're
coming
not
in
doing
and out.
retail. We are not doing retail. Nobody has said retail. I don't know who told you
I
retail.
think our understanding was that these were going to
Actually,
be
I do
workshop
remember,
areas.
sorry, Cecile.
I think that's how I understood that you were going to rent out these offices as workspace for other professional artists, whatever.
I think that there's a term here that Brenda and I had a spar about as well. And I will tell you clearly, for many reasons, I get hot fast. But shop is the question. When I refer to a shop, I refer to my woodworking shop in Brunswick, Maine as a shop. Brenda kept hearing me say shop, and you're thinking Goodwin's Mills General Store right behind us. I'm not talking shop. When I talk shop, I'm talking, if I'm making a wooden lap straight canoe, that's a shop I make it in. There's no retail. We have no retail tenants. We have no intention of bringing
We
retail.
talked about doing art shows, every once in a while.
Yeah,
Well, that's a show.
But
That's
you
a
know,
show.
Specifically talking about saying you get a metal artist in there and he creates a sculpture
Yeah, great.
and puts it out on the front lawn and sells it. And you had mentioned about occasionally people would come in and buy your products. I specifically remember you
Okay,
saying that there
I
would be some
retract it.
retail up.
It's an artisan building. We intend to build an artisan building. And if you guys are saying artisans cannot sell
not
sell their
what we're
wares
saying.
on that building.
No, and
Okay.
you guys, we all talked about the fact that it was a school and it had a traffic, there's every day 200 people in and out. And it's a sufficient,
Right. we
I
did-
say call it, I say that you are given in a new letter and I have a $400,000 loan ready to go with your permission already. I'm not doing this just out of nowhere, with your permission to put in professional services, which we all said can include artists. We have it ready to go. I can't wait for 3 or 4 months. I'm going to lose my contracts and they're going to be more expensive. I don't,
So the big thing is the boat over there, right? Is that?
you want me to pull the boat out? I'll pull the boat out.
Just hold on a minute. Let me.
she just wants to hear that, she wasn't here what she said to us, and she just wants to hear you say, this is what you intended. This is what we agreed to. We're doing exactly what we agreed to. You guys all came together and said it was.
No.
what we agreed to.
No, you're not.
What aren't we doing?
Okay, why don't we just think about this for a minute? We went through the public hearing. We had a lot of input on that. People were concerned about specific things. We went through and we discussed, we maybe didn't go in enough detail. First of all, we did not talk, in my opinion or my memory, a phase 1 or a phase 2. I don't know where that comes from.
It's a building
We
thing.
did
It's-
talk about that.
Do we? I don't,
I believe we did.
okay, that's not in our notice of decision.
It's
I'm
not
just
a
going
land
by
use thing.
what we wrote here because that's what is a legal document. And I'm not trying to give you a hard time.
But
I
I
like
think
to,
that was what Patty was managing that. She said that wasn't for you. That was for her to manage.
It's a
What?
building thing.
oh, okay, but
The phase, the construction was on her. And that's what she said.
I think for everybody's benefit here, the biggest discussion is what are the uses here? That is the thing. And we did use professional offices because that seemed to be probably the only thing that could make that work. So, okay, so it would appear to me that to get this thing legal, and so we stop arguing about it, we ought to rewrite this notice of decision, or not rewrite it, but amend it to specify what changes the applicant wants to make. Because what's in here right now is what the applicant stated at the time. Now, maybe that has changed. That's what's in this legal notice of decision. So we want to modify that so that you can do what you think is proper. We all agree on the uses, which sounds like the major issue. And then Brenda can issue the permits when the appropriate milestones have been reached.
Don't forget, you've got to modify, you have to say, you will accept fire marshal decision for life safety and local as, because it's a term of your use. It's a term of your acceptance.
Please
The
don't.
NOD doesn't care about what the fire marshal says or what the fire chief says. The NOD cares about the use.
What is the NOD?
Saying that, but
Notice
Notice
of
of
decision.
decision.
Notice of decision, this is the legal document that you have.
almost any use can go in there. And I was surprised when I went into phase one to see how it was set up. It's much different than I would ever expect a professional office to be set up. So maybe a sidewalk is, I don't know. I just want to be on the same page. And at what point, if we're going from what we thought, what you thought was a professional office space to a boat repair space or a boat renovation, or whatever you want to call it.
Artisan,
To
it's
me,
a artisan.
There's a huge difference. And I mean, so artisan could be anything. What is art to me may not be art to you.
Exactly.
That's what I want to get
That's what
into.
we're saying.
So it seems to me like it's a big catch-all. And
It's a huge catch-all.
Art
It's
is
intended.
very big, it's a very.
I don't want
broad
to debate it
subject.
with you, you know? If I want to, there's just so many things we could call
So
it.
how open do you want that building? And how do you want me to respond to, because from what it looks to me, every single space in that building is going to need an occupancy permit.
Hmm.
Yes.
So what do you want me to approve occupancy?
I think each use has to be identified, and we owe it to the public to know what the use is going to be, because that was brought up at the original public hearing. People were concerned about what those offices were going to be used for. And so I think the abutters should be notified if you're going to have offices other than, what we intended, what we interpreted from what your intention was. And what
Maybe I'll
the
just take out a master
amendments.
lease myself for the whole building. I'll just take out a master lease and I'll call it professional office. Done. I'll take out a master lease, I'll sign it, I'll get an occupancy permit for the entire building, and it will be a professional office. Why not?
The fire marshal said for one that you can't. And
Take
you're the
out
one that keeps talking about the fire marshal, so let's stick to that. They're treating it as individual units. I think the town, it sounds to me like the town will be, because it's not an attorney and an architect and, I mean, even a dentist, doctor.
I guess my question is, do you want us to just sell it and leave? It's just, I mean, it's like, honestly, at this
No one
point,
wants that.
It's a vacant building that we are bringing back online in the exact way we told you that we were going to do it.
But we have an ordinance that we have to follow,
Follow the ordinance.
right?
Allow me to use I meet the letter you gave us. Once you gave me permission to put the septic system in late, and now I'm asking you to, the other condition of approval said I would put in a sprinkler system. I'm asking for you to take Goodwin Mills Fire Chief's letter and the state fire marshal letter to take that in lieu of us putting in a sprinkler system. They're the authorities on life safety. Life safety that's why you put in sprinkler systems, for life safety. Accept that in lieu of, I'm not asking for any other changes. Not asking for a thing. I'll continue to do it the way we're
So
doing it.
if you proceed right now, do the two things that Mr. Johnson asked. Do it, yeah, that's fine, you sign it, record it. I still don't know what you want for use in that
Oh, here's-
building. I
here's the
still
fire
don't
chief.
know.
Right.
Map came back.
So theoretically, I can go to you and say, I'm an artist, I want to rent one of your studios, and part of my art is explosive art.
No,
I'm an artist.
Definitely not gonna
You
do that.
just said.
I don't want you blowing up my building and it's not legal. He's gonna hate that. Like,
Did I say what I was
We're gonna
using for
be safe.
explosives?
I mean, let's be reasonable. No,
That's what we're asking, is for you to be.
I own the building. I got $1 million in it. You're gonna blow it up. No,
It's very specific.
sorry,
We're gonna
go away.
every single
We were
person.
thinking, I could be wrong, paint, sculpturing,
Wood.
wood.
But does
metal
the planning
sculpturing.
board want to get involved in what is art and what isn't art?
No.
So,
Mr. Chairman, can I make it, please, make
Go
a
ahead, Zal.
look, you're the applicant with the planning board, okay? the applicant is supposed to meet the requirements of the ordinance. We all agree on that. Hope
We
you
agree.
agree, because that's what the rules are.
We agree.
Okay, the smartest way to, I think, to settle this down is for you to sit down and not refer me to this letter or that letter. Put in writing what you want changed. And that way we'll do it if it seems reasonable.
Can I state what you want changed? Because
No.
I can't go back. But sir, pardon me, I have a contractor ready to go. You guys gave me permission to do what we're doing. So I would like to say, and someone could simply say, put it on the floor and see if you all agree to it. I am asking you one thing only. I will go put it in written form if you want me to, but I'm simply asking, accept the fire marshal letter and give me a moment, accept the fire marshal letter and the local fire chief's letter about this about the fact we don't need a sprinkler system to satisfy life safety to be in lieu of your requirement to put in a septic system or a sprinkler system. That's all I'm asking for. Modify that so I can use those letters in lieu of a working sprinkler system. I'm not asking for anything else. That's all I'm asking for tonight.
Go ahead, Joe.
We could, let us please consider modifying the existing notice of decision. That under findings and conclusions, the applicants propose to repurpose the former Cousins Memorial School property into professional offices to be understood as individual artisan studios.
Perfect.
Okay. And also at your suggestion, I think it's condition or standard 14, modify that as well, with the acceptance of the state fire marshal and our local fire chiefs, assurances that life safety requirements are being covered, and there'll be no necessity for a sprinkler system there. Okay. The other issue is the boat. That's personal property of yours. Okay. Is this, are you, is it an antique of some sorts
Yes.
that you're
It's an
recreating?
antique, if you want to come and check it out. I can
Come
have it
see
show
it.
you. It's assembled it, we're putting it back together with our own hands.
1966 antique. So it's a wooden boat.
Well, I would ask this
Makes me
as
more of an
well.
antique.
Yep.
As a condition, as each studio is rented, the specific use of that studio will be reported to the code enforcement
Problem.
officer.
That was intended, we would.
We will do that.
Yeah.
I like what you suggested about the artisan space and modified the other. That clarifies it. We will keep it within artisan because it is our intention. And if I have to, if we're like, listen, we're not finding enough people to cover this nut around here, I'll go talk to Brenda and be like, Brenda, like I have to open this up to realtors now. So am I good? Because I'm going to let in a realtor because I can't find enough artisans. Fine. Our intention is to have a community space where artisans can do their crafts, their arts, whatever it is, pay us rent. It's never changed. That's still our intention. I happen to be an artisan who is bending green white oak that I'm finding in New Hampshire into a boat that should be trashed, but I don't want to trash it because I like it. If you want to say that I'm not an artisan, I don't know why you'd want to debate that with me, but to me, it seems like an art. So whatever.
There again, what's one person's art is another person's art, and we all know that. I want to look at the area that is used to do the restoration of the boat is very different. It has, when we walked in there were propane tanks, there were chemicals, there were, and that use is not allowed in a residential area. So at what point do you say, okay, that's not allowed, but because it's art, we're gonna allow it? I'm not taking that responsibility. What I'll do is every time Mr. Johnson comes to me with a use for a unit, I'm going to bring it to you. I'm sorry, I just.
Oh, I agree.
Because to me, that is not even a little bit in compliance with his zoning
But
ordinance.
it's the same.
Can we
but
clarify
it's
what
the
you're
same
talking
thing
about?
That would be in our garage.
It's
If we're in a residence, that's our garage. You have.
The propane tanks were for our,
Garage, you made it a public building.
Right.
And the reason is because you're gonna have the public in there. It's important to keep the public safe.
Yes.
That's what we care about. That's what all of this is all about, is to keep the public and the environment safe. So that no longer is a private area in that building because you made the building public.
Yeah, propane tanks, which are for our barbecue, and we moved from our house in Portland, temporarily put them, they will be out. If they're not already out, we might have already taken them back to the barbecue. So, cool. The paints, if you want them outside, is fine. Can we note that is a 2-hour firewall between the two buildings and a 2-hour fire, so it's a safe building. Fine. We want to rent something like 10 or 12 units to artisans. If Brenda, you were telling me what I'm doing in ours, repairing an old wooden boat is not an artisan, we can have that discussion. Fine. But I don't.
Say that. Please don't allow me to go down that line. I did not say what is art. You know, what I love to be art, the rest of you would say it was a total waste of time and materials.
So fine.
I think that's commendable. Take something old and make it beautiful. I think that's wonderful. It's the process. Is that process allowed in a residential area? Is that what you want in a residential area? So if you want to put in your nod that before I'll write an occupancy permit for any unit come to you, you define it. Because I only enforce what you say. That's not my decision. It's not my lane. And I don't want to be outside of that lane. So if you want to modify the nod that every single one of those will come to you for reconsideration. And if you don't think it's great for that building, what are you gonna hang your hat on? You've got nothing to hang it on right now, evidently. I mean, I just didn't.
It was approved as an idea that this was an art-based community building and everybody here signed off on it once. Like, why is this now coming back around?
It's a public building though. It's not a private residence.
No,
I'm not saying it is. It's already been approved for what we said we're doing.
It's a school and it's got plenty of infrastructure to support.
It wasn't out of school because the use was over, after 2 years? Is it after 2 years?
So what should we do then with are you guys aware?
In service, it's not.
I'm assuming you're aware that the baseball field has a commercial kitchen in it. Like, are you aware? I mean, we're fine, cool. So now what do you want to do about that baseball field and the commercial kitchen, which we didn't build, but we are donating to the local community? What do you want to do about that as well? Like, none of this is residential.
We're going off course here.
Does maybe Matt have something he can kind of put
His
fire
eyes
out
just
here?
bugged out.
I'm looking only for permission to not put in a sprinkler system and to do what we said we were gonna do. That's it.
Yeah, we don't need to change.
I don't change it. I don't need a change.
And you can go ahead and do that. Do the two things he asked for. I'm not writing an occupancy permit for what he calls phase one, because it's counter to what I believe your decision was.
Okay, so then I need you to call it an artisan, because that's what I told you we were doing twice already. Make them, I forgot your name, sir. Your suggestion, I am in full support of what he suggested. Everything he said, I wholeheartedly agree with it. I have no problem fitting within what he said. Both modifications, he suggested 2 modifications. One added in some language that we're calling it a professional office space. And the intention of the planning board is to allow us to use it as artisan shops, studios. You choose your language. I'll start using your language. But that is what we said we were going to do. It's still what we want to do. And I want you to accept the fire chief and fire marshal's opinion on the sprinkler. That's all I want.
I also suggested a condition that as each studio is rented, the use would be reported, I suggested before, reported to the CEO, reported to the planning board for review.
We will accommodate that. I think it's onerous because I've got 12 studios, but we will accommodate it.
Brenda?
So from my point of view, life safety point of view only, not the ordinance, not the use, and that's where when Brenda and I talk, we talk in circles because we're on the same page, but one's on the left, one's on the right. When the fire marshal, and I was just burn through your plans real quick. My understanding is when the fire marshal inspected or reviewed the plans, it was reviewed as a shop, and it was approved to be that occupancy. Based on NFPA life safety, there is not a sprinkler system requirement now. Also based on the fire marshal's permit, each individual occupancy has to be permitted through that. So if they're gonna do an explosive art thing, then the fire marshal's gonna read that and say, no, you can't do it. I don't know if that helps, I mean,
That does.
It forces us to go through due process
now,
for each
now whether or
studio.
not they can put a boat in that shop number one, based on
We're making that,
NFPA, they can, based on the Lyman ordinances, not mine.
So that would be similar category of classic cars. You could call that an art and bring your classic car in there and do car repair, which really would not be allowed in our ordinance. The fact that it's an old car wouldn't matter, right?
That's a point.
So I think that use would have to be debated as to whether it would be allowed.
I'm here to debate. But I want our construction to move forward.
If it doesn't, if our ordinance doesn't spell it out, it's not, we can't classify it.
If it's not listed, it's not allowed.
It's not allowed.
That simple.
Yeah.
But
I don't know what it would.
So
be some.
baseball's out. It's not listed. It's not allowed.
Recreational facility.
Is that, do I have an approval for that?
Yeah, and it's a grandfathered use.
Well, I'll suggest again that the board entertain modification of the notice of decision to under findings and conclusions, rephrase it and the following language to it. What is there now? The applicants propose to repurpose the former Cousins Memorial School property into professional offices to be understood as individual artisan studios. Add the condition. Later, after standard 16, as each studio is rented, the specific use for that studio will be reported to the state fire marshal and to the planning board. And as for standard 14, I don't have the language, but modifying that to under findings that the state fire marshal and the fire chief of the Goodman's Mills Fire Department assure that the life safety requirements are fulfilled and the fire protection, and a new fire protection sprinkler system is not necessary. Something like that.
It could be reported to the code enforcement officer. If she just determines that it's the same as this other one, we don't need to bother you. She can head that off.
I can either do it all or none. I mean, I don't want to pick and choose. My interpretation does not matter. It's your interpretation. So but when you had said, I think it was number 14, that it would be reported to the planning board, that sounds like it's just an informational thing.
Yeah.
I would like it to be reviewed and either approved or not approved.
Right.
If the new
Information, we need public hearing. We're modifying this notice of decision.
You do.
I think so.
Would it be,
For every tenant.
well,
For every tenant. Is this a, do you
If
have a
it's a new
standard?
use, if it's a new use, then.
It's not, it's gonna be artisanal.
not.
It's just
Could be
artisanal, yeah. it's
could
the
we,
art-
can we put some words in here that we're doing under professional offices, okay? And the way the definition, it gives a list, but it says not limited to, and the word's not limited to. Is there any way we could sort of, with the applicant, put down a list of uses for these professional offices that
Can we
would-
look up
No,
artisanal and
wait,
just use that?
wait, let me finish what I'm trying to say, please. God bless us. What I'm trying to say to the board members is, we don't want to have to be going back and forth on this thing every time. That doesn't make sense to me. It makes sense to me to try to write out a list of uses that would accommodate as much as we think we can under the ordinance, under the subject of professional offices. Now, that's a broad term, but the definition says, but not limited to. It talks about attorneys, blah, 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 blah. It says, but not limited to. If we could come up with a list that would cover what the applicant reasonably thinks they want to do, that could be put in the notice of decision, get recorded, blah, blah, blah. And everybody could walk away. And then if the applicant came up with some other use that wasn't listed in that notice of decision and they wanted to modify it, then it's on to the applicant to come back and ask for a modification. Because right now, if we put in too many weasel words, it won't mean anything. And I think we ought to state, and this also makes it Brenda's job a lot easier, state what we think is okay for this applicant. And if that requires a new public hearing, it requires a new public hearing. I mean, what we don't want to do is rush in and do something that doesn't make sense and have somebody then sue us and say, okay, you're not following the ordinance. This whole thing is, and then we've gone that route before, and it turns out to be a big mess. And my feeling is we're trying to work with the applicant here. The applicant has to work with us a little bit. The applicant wants to change the notice of decision because the applicant does not want to meet the requirements as written, which I'm not blaming him for, him or her. I'm not blaming any of you for, I'm not saying there's any, I'm just saying you don't want to meet the requirements here because you don't want to meet what's stated for your own reasons, which I don't disagree with. So what I want to try to do is to try to put this to where we don't have to come back and look at this every 6 months or something else.
Since it's our building, can I suggest to you what we use for that language? And then we will fit within it. And then just like you said, we will come and ask you if it doesn't fit within it. Because I'm using Brenda's language. I
said
like
my 2 cents here.
I like Brenda's language. Produced in limited quantities by an artisan through the use of traditional methods. Fine. Take out the word traditional. Through the use of hand methods. This is not a factory. It's not whatever. Like we are producing limited quantities of whatever. She's making beautiful plants to sell to businesses in a traditional method with ceramics and growing tropical plants, whatever. Like we'll use that. That's what we intend to do. And I don't want to join a committee to rewrite the ordinances. I've got other things to do, but what the hell? We're doing what we said we're going to do. I understand that Brenda can't say yes because it doesn't meet the exact wording of our ordinance. I like what this gentleman proposed. I have no problem with it. I have no problem with you saying, let's put a little bit more. We are producing in limited quantities by artisans through the use of traditional methods. Fine.
Or we could add.
We are
Be cautious of the traditional methods.
I don't like that either.
Or such
Yeah,
as.
that's, just,
We could say, that way, we can also say such as ceramics, painting, we could get into some of the things. I mean,
Etc.
like ceramics,
Don't say
painting,
et cetera.
woodworking, metalworking, all the things.
I
that
think
we
you'd
talked
actually be
about.
limiting yourself to potential. I think but not limited to if we're using the term professional offices, leave it just as that. Don't rewrite what's already there and potentially create more problems for
I don't
yourself.
want to do that. So my question is, then will Brenda's saying she won't give me a building permit if we keep it as professional offices, because the term doesn't match with what's going in there. And we understand that because Brenda, your predecessor said, I don't have a good term for you. Use professional offices. It's what we
I
did.
think it's obvious we don't have a good term. And from my
So
perspective.
please don't put that on us. You guys have approved what we want to do with it.
Let's put it on you. What I'm just trying to say is, okay, I've got a couple things to say.
Say
From my perspective, I was told today by our electrical inspector that the boat restoration area changes everything. It's a different inspection. The fire chief says phase 1 changes everything. He had different criteria for there, and I'm not speaking for him. And that's why I'm saying, and maybe you can't use a broad brush for all of this, and I get that. But I'd also like to ask Matt if it's possible, or maybe Caleb has it. I mean, whenever I see a decision, I want to know what the question was. Don't just give me the decision. What was the question? So maybe we could see the application that went to the fire marshal to see, what it was.
It's
If you
the
have
plan.
What we're doing.
You have them, it's the plans.
It's just the.
It's an
plan.
NFPA 101 study. It shows all the travel distances,
Travel
it shows all the
distances.
fire stations, you have it all.
It's all there.
It's virtually here what I'm looking
All
at. The only thing that, as I mentioned before, that shop number one, I can't find a definition for shop number one.
If
On
you're,
the plans. But I'm sure your guy Bud probably has that.
When we sent that over, I mean, we were
Give us-
identifying the spatial adjacencies, the spaces.
give us permission to finish this, because I want to clarify what I'm doing right now. This building has not been heated. The plumbing has not been working. The electrical is dangerous. I am replacing all the electrical, all the mechanical. I am upgrading the life safety systems. There are going to be pole stations. There's going to be horn strobes. There's going to be fire rated doors. I want to move functioning toilets.
Heat and electricity.
I want to
and air
move
conditioning.
forward with, I want that, let me finish. I want that construction to move forward. If you want me to continue to debate with you what use we can put in there, I will do that. We will come back, as often as you want. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get some legal help because I don't know how to manage the lack of terms in your ordinance. It's not my thing to deal with, but I do want to move forward with improving this building. And if you tell me I can't occupy the building, fine. Let me improve this building so somebody can occupy it. And if the only thing I can put in there is lawyers and retail and realtors and accountants, fine. We'll change our whole damn plan. We'll fill it up with professional people who want to work in that building. But I want to move forward with improving that building. We did so because Patty told us use professional offices. I'm not hurting anybody by doing that. And if you insist that we take our plants and our boat and get the hell out of town, we'll do it. But I need to move forward with improving this building and making it a safer, better building. I need to do that.
Go ahead, Brenda.
I just would like to make one more point, and then I'm just gonna leave entirely up to you. You've heard it all. You've heard both sides. Marcel, the electrical inspector, and I was talking today about something else entirely. And it turned out that someone had a woodworking shop in their building. And he said, that's a whole different electrical system. So what I'm saying is uses affect everything.
Yep.
And the comprehensive plan was written to create zones and to create the uses in each zone for a very specific reason. Many of you were on that. You know what was put into it.
Right.
So that's what I'm trying to do, is just stick to that, because that's my job. So if you say the boat renovation is fine, I am just going to say that if, you know what, a woodworker is a beautiful artisan. The things that they do are humbling. But they can't just go in there as it is right now. It would have to be totally reconfigured. So then what do I do? What do I do at that point? I mean, can they just put one in there and I can't do anything about it, or you can't do anything about it? What are you doing here? And it just, I just don't know what else to say.
So the fact that I had the nerve to put a antique wooden boat in an old classroom seems to be at the heart of the issue. And let me say something very technical. I agree with you. A wood shop does not belong in there, and there is no wood shop there. Where I mill my wood is at a 6,000 square foot facility in Brunswick, Maine, in an old mill building that has proper dust collection, that has proper OSHA, that has proper everything. I'm not milling anything there. I am milling it, buy it in New Hampshire, mill it up in my shop in Brunswick, bring down strips of wood and use a hand drill to attach them to the boat. I'm sorry I had a propane tank in there. My fault. I'm sorry I have paint in there. I'll take the paint out. I am attaching strips of wood to other strips of wood
Okay. Caleb,
with
we
a
get
hand
the
drill.
picture. We get the picture, okay? What are we gonna do to fix this? That's the big problem.
The fire chief has to leave. Can you just ask him if there's anything else you need to know so that he can?
Is there anything else?
I don't believe so.
Perfect.
I think it's,
Well, I have to get up at 3 in the morning too, so I don't want to stand here all night and argue with them.
I'm not looking for an argument. I'm looking to just put this building back in use. All
Enough, please, enough.
right.
I think what we need to do, obviously, is to modify this notice of decision, because that's the only legal document we've got here, to list the uses that are going to be permissible. And here's a question I have, and I'm not trying to delay things, but if we change what we said we were going to do at the public hearing, and then and we had all this, we had this last summer, then we're going to have to go and, in my opinion, do another public hearing.
Yes, you
I don't
can.
want to do that.
I agree.
I don't want to do that because that'll take time. But I'm just saying is if we make a significant change to what we said we were going to do, then I think there's an obligation to open it up. But if there's another alternative, I'm looking for it. I'm not looking to stretch this thing out by any means.
I don't think by modifying the findings and conclusions sections of the notice of decision, it would be contrary to the understanding of those who were at the public hearing as to what was proposed for this building, the studios. I think it would be very, very difficult to come up with even a general list of what could be considered to be artistic or artisan. I think that could be determined as each studio is leased and the proposed use reported to planning board, state fire marshal, maybe the electrical inspector as well, for review and approval. And that would require, and also modifying our finding on standard 14. Condition 4, I would propose, could be switched out to this condition that each studio as it's leased, the proposed use would be reported and reviewed and approved. I
I think that's a good idea because artisans, again, is such an all-encompassing term.
So is professional services though.
It is, but most people think of professional services as, lawyers and
Right.
doctors, and I mean,
But you could list 50 people under professional services, just like you
That's
could,
the opposite.
just like you could list 50 people under artisans. It's just
So-
as general.
Would it be possible to put a list up, put in the, if we're going to change the notice of decision, which sounds like we ought to do that, or I'm saying change it, but modify it, amend it, let's say amend it. Would it be possible to amend it with a listing of items that the applicants know they want to do now? In other words, if they have a list, let's say they've got five areas they want to do now. I'm not going to talk about what they are, but I'm just saying, say there's 5 areas. We say currently, approved, da, 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 and then say and then if you want to put the words in there, put in the words subsequent ones will, and then state how they're going to be reviewed and approved. Something to let the applicant move forward, which is the main point that they want to make, I think, at this time, but not tie it up to where we're going to be seeing a new use every 3 months or something, which would be a significant use of time, which I don't think we want to try to do. I don't think we get much out of that. But in other words, it's like when somebody comes in and they want to do this, this, and this, and I usually try to say, or I think everybody tries to say to them, okay, if you want to do this, ask to be able to do it. Don't limit yourself by saying if you're going to add, I don't know, Frisbee or something, or you're going to add this or that to your application, put it on the application. It doesn't mean you have to do it. It means that you don't have to bother anybody if you want to do it. So if it is possible to make this thing work, can we come together and put a list of what we want to call them, artisan professional offices or whatever, and just say currently including this, and then if we want to make a statement in there saying any additional uses will be reviewed and specify who they're going to be reviewed by. So that way the applicants can move forward what they know they want to do. And then if something else comes up later, they can say, oh, gee, here's another use which we never thought about, blah, blah, blah. Come back and get that approved. And so we can move forward on this thing. Because nobody wants to sit there with money waiting to be spent and contracts waiting to be executed. We're
May
not
I
trying to do
suggest that list then? Would that be okay?
Talk to him.
Hey, Brenda,
So can, I think what I'd like to walk away with tonight is a directive from you. Do I write COs for the 2 units that are occupied right now? That's what I care about right now.
And those uses are currently,
What are the 2 units used?
The plants and the boat restoration.
And it's not a boat restoration. What I have is a tinkering shop there. I have a tinkering shop to be able to work on whatever it is that we want to create. So it's a creative space. Yes, until next summer, I'll be working on that boat, but then you're not going to see that boat in there again. You're going to see a sculpture. You're going to see a painting. You're going to see us doing a piece of furniture together. So it is an art, it is a shop. It's a shop. Do you want to tell me what I can and can't put in my shop?
Brenda, can I ask you a question? Was this pointed out by the public?
I got many calls.
So, I mean, that's a clue that this is a use that was not expected to be seen, to be
And
active in that area.
in all fairness, I don't think it was called so much to criticize the use as to question this.
Why is that here?
I didn't expect that. It's-
Right.
So I don't think it was anyone that says, oh my gosh, you can't be doing that.
Right.
It was, what are they doing? And I get those calls for everything, you know.
Because that was a concern at the public hearing. That people wanted to know what kind of professional activity was going to be there. And you couldn't say, that
Well,
you
it said artists.
led them to believe that there was going to be artist workshop
And there are.
areas or whatever. And
People stop by all the time.
so when they
and
saw
chat
the boat, it,
And, I was just reading the definition of what an artisan is, and it speaks that even food preparations.
Yep.
is artisan.
Yes.
So
they call
people
beer
love food.
crafters artists.
that's right, winemaking.
But then we'd have to but let's just point out, like, okay, someone comes to us and they want to make specialty muffins out of beer bread. I don't know, whatever. We're like, cool, that's something, it's a creative use. We're looking for creative people to make things with their hands in this building. So now we have to go by law to the state fire marshal, get permission on a life safety level. We have to get a permit from Brenda. And then we have to come back to you guys and say, is it okay if they make some beer bread muffins with pink frosting? Then you guys can judge whether we are doing what you gave us permission to do, if that's what you want to do.
I was gonna say, in your example, that would fall under artisanal food and or beverage, which would not be allowed in residential district.
Then you say no. And I say, okay,
Yeah.
I'll go find a painter. Then I'll come back and this person does portraits of people's dogs, and they put a hat on them. Does that work for you guys? Yes, it does. We approved you for that. Okay, good. I'll go do it. That's it. That's what I want to do. And if you're saying, and I didn't know that making cupcakes in an old school building here was not permitted, cool. We won't do it. Application denied. We'll do something else that you guys say we can do in the building.
I just want to reiterate, I don't want to start creating a list that restricts but not limited to wording in professional offices. Because say you come up and go, oh, we have, my mind's going blank on artisan, but metal workers, wood carvers, painters, sculptors, and then because you didn't put down natural clothing artists, somebody approaches you and they want to make Native American clothing wear and decorate it.
Yeah, so
So
that's why I
don't wanna
wanted,
limit you guys to that.
that's why I wanted to suggest, because someone up here suggested I think the gentleman here suggested we put some language in there. So I would suggest that we stick to what we've always said we're going to do. That the approved use is for artists, craftsmen, makers.
Yeah.
That's what we intend to do. And if someone comes to us and Brenda's like, geez, Shannon, I can't see how that's an artist. That's not my view of art. I can't see how that's a maker. That's not my view of making. I can't see how that's a craftsman. Agreed. You guys didn't agree to it. We'll come talk to you about the guy who wants to do something that nobody can get their head around. We'll come talk to you about it. And you guys can debate whether that is art, craft, or maker.
Mr. Chair, Brendan, getting back to your question before, with Marcel, our electrical inspector, find that the two studios conform to code at this point?
We haven't been able to get over there yet.
He's coming Friday afternoon, noon, for the final walkthrough.
It was performed by a licensed commercial electrician to work in that phase one.
Just the,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no,
and we
noon.
applied for a permit, it was executed.
He'll be there noon Friday. And then we'll just do whatever he says to do. It's not gonna be hard.
And I think one of the biggest things is with each tenant that you have, that their use of the studio is clearly defined and it is run by code enforcement and electrical inspectors so that what they are doing, the studio itself is up to code that will allow them to safely perform their art. Because last thing you'd want, hypothetically, I don't know anything about the building, hypothetically, you have another woodworker in there, and all of a sudden they start bringing in planers, joiners,
That
shapers,
can't be,
lathes,
can't be.
and now you're gonna have three-phase power in there.
The
and-
fire marshal won't approve that. That can't be. I have to get a fire marshal permit and the fire marshal's not gonna approve a woodworking shop in there. And we're not going to.
So we come to the conclusion that we gotta rewrite this
Right.
not a little bit.
I think we need a public hearing myself, because there was just so much interest, so much input. I don't see it as a major change. I think if we don't allow the public input, we're inviting backlash.
We had public input. and-
For this,
But we-
not the
But
alternative.
our change of the septic is extending the septic and.
We're just putting a septic out longer. We're asking you to accept that we are meeting the life safety requirements. You have two officials saying we're meeting the life safety requirements. And then all three times that we have been here, we've said artists, craftsmen,
I think that the
makers,
public
including when the
interest-
public was
I
here.
think the public interest is more because there were, and Brenda just said this too, I think people are excited about what's going on and happy about it.
My grandmother went there. I went there. I played.
Well, people are interested, they're not like reticent about it, they're interested.
We-
Because
we
I just
haven't-
don't expect that, I think people are generally excited that we're still using the baseball field. People showed up because they were worried that we're gonna make some kind of major change or put in housing.
Right.
And that, or cannabis, those are things that we're never gonna do, it's on our deed, we'll never do.
I would just like to ask, any of the six of you, when you presented this, did it ever occur to you that there'd be a boat renovation?
Oh, my God.
They did talk about woodworking,
Yes.
but no, I didn't picture a boat, but they did talk about woodworking.
We weren't keeping,
You know,
the boat broke, the boat
It's-
had a leak, we weren't doing, this was not deceptive, we didn't come in and say,
No,
we're gonna sneak it by. The boat, we thought was working, we said, oh, okay, it's got a leak, we're gonna pull it in, and then it turned out that all the ribs were rotted out, that's the truth. You can call around. This wasn't deceptive.
With respect to your suggestion on the public hearing, in the minutes of the previous public hearing on July 20th of last year.
Yeah.
Ms. Richards explained the project to convert the building to workspace for the owners and offices for other professional artists to rent. And what they're proposing now is the same. So I don't think having a public hearing on this needed. I think there are technical changes are is called for.
Then just please give me a directive to write an occupancy permit for those 2 units.
If Marcel inspects them and passes muster in terms of the code,
Will you do that as a motion?
I make a motion that if the applicant's studios meet all current zoning requirements, electrical inspection, as well as the approval of the state fire marshal and the fire chief, permit should be granted.
I'll second that. Is there any more
Can
discussion?
we knock the zoning out of that? Because
Yeah,
it
this,
doesn't meet zoning.
it doesn't meet the zoning. That's part of the problem.
We never changed it and you guys agreed to it. We've never changed it. We've said the same thing 3 times.
It does meet the zoning because we're defining it as professional offices. And so it does meet zoning, and it did pass the planning board of approval, and we had public hearings, and it is fair.
And we've
just.
debated it 3 times. You guys have agreed to it twice and the public agreed to it. It meets zoning. Zoning is flawed. We are, as humans, working with the flawed zoning.
And that's a possible outcome, is that it's useful, and it's community-based, it's safe, and it's productive.
All of that.
And we are doing
Okay,
that.
does the board have any more opinions?
Well, may I suggest modifying the motion to focus only on electrical inspectors' review and approval of these 2 units
And the fire chief.
and the fire chief?
Which is like
So amended.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you make a motion?
What's that?
Can you make a motion?
Can I make a motion?
As an alternate?
I was voted full member.
He's not-
Full member.
You want to vote for, oh, you're not for this meeting, were you? Were you? I'm sorry.
After
I'm
all,
I'm sorry for the technicality.
Seal,
Cecile and Bill Singleton were the alternates. I
I'm
got
sorry. Oh, you're a full member. I apologize. All right.
That's
Don't
all right.
confuse me.
We're just getting old.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I'm already old.
My apologies. Just wanted to make sure that we all.
I was gonna say, did you have a
Okay,
better
can you
way to
repeat the
reword it?
motion so we know what they're
So,
talking about there?
my opinion is, they did talk about woodworking. I think bringing a boat in there is stretching a bit, but they did talk about woodworking in Addison. I mean, it's,
That's all I want from you.
that's just my opinion, Brenda.
You drive the boat. I-
No, you'd sink if I was driving the boat.
I'm sorry.
Please make the motion so.
Okay, I'll rescind my original motion and make a motion that Brenda issue occupancy permits based on in compliance with electrical inspection, code enforcement, and fire marshal and fire chief's inspection. Good?
You okay with that, Brendan?
I'm fine with that.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion, Kevin?
From an outside perspective, since I wasn't on the board last July, it sounds like it's coming down to a more of a visual thing, since the school is right there on Route 35. A lot of traffic goes by and a lot of people seeing boats and stuff. I think that's what it's coming down to as far as a visual thing. And that's raising red flags. That's just my 2
So you're
cents.
suggesting curtains? I completely agree.
Just suggesting that,
Already.
yeah, it sounds like a visual thing that's bringing everything to the forefront.
Good point.
Yes,
Okay, yourself.
Seal, you good?
I can't vote, so it doesn't
I
matter.
know, but you
No, I
state your opinion, I mean.
Yeah, no, I guess we could just accept that it's a craft, right?
It is, I think it's stretching a bit, but they did talk
It
about
is stretching.
woodworking, it is a craft, they consider it Addison, but
But if the use is going to be inspected and have adequate fire protection and electrical needs, then I guess we could do that.
Joe,
I'm in agreement.
Don,
Yeah, just for this part I am. I got some other comments here in a minute.
I'm good. I'm the one who made the motion to approve it.
okay. All in favor of Kelly's motion?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now,
Thank you.
we still need to rewrite the NOD.
So, I don't know if Joe wants to rewrite it, or, I don't know.
Can maybe bring it back to the next meeting after you've done some.
Well, if we could rewrite it, we could email it to Caleb, or,
I think I could say a really clear, with all of your help, and genuinely, I appreciate your help. We would like this approval to be written in your document, professional services or professional offices to include artists, craftsmen, and makers.
Makers is that's a.
It's a common term that we use in the
You don't call someone who makes candles, you don't typically call them a craftsman, you might call them a maker.
soap maker.
Mhm.
A woman
Okay.
who wants to make soap.
Okay.
A quilt person, like that's not a craftsman, it's a maker. A quilter's a maker.
It's broad enough and not restricted.
That's it.
So maybe something to the effect.
And I'm not, and again, I appreciate all of your patience. Again, we are, this is not changing the story from the public hearing, the last hearing, or today.
Well, now, wait a second, hold on.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay.
We still got to rewrite the NOD because we are changing some of the requirements. We're changing the fire protection, presumably.
Yes, we have changed the NOD for
And
that.
I'm not sure, at least the fire protection, I know that's been
Yep.
changed. So that's that's a change from the notice of
Yep.
decision. So we have to make sure that the notice of decision is, it's all, we're all going on the same page on that, so
Yep.
that we don't sign something that you cannot comply with or do not want to comply with. So therefore, it's important that we get the notice of decision amendment correct, so that it's all written down, because that's the legal document. And that's
Agreed.
what-
Along those lines, given your suggestion, let's see. Because it's Memorial School property into professional offices to be understood as individual studios for artists, craftsmen, and makers.
We're happy. That's what we want to do. If we want to do something else, we'll come ask for your permission.
I think I would sort of define makers if it's possible, but just anyway,
That's,
example, makers.
it's broad enough,
All right,
but it encompasses a lot.
And would it be satisfactory to, again, modify the language on standard 14 with respect to the sprinkler system?
Right.
Had, in effect, refer to both the state fire marshal and our fire chiefs review. Condition 4, just switch that out altogether for condition that would require, as each studio is rented, the specific use for that studio will be reported, will be reviewed and approved by the electrical inspector, state fire marshal, and planning board. Now, I'm looking at it this way, John. I think most of the proposed uses, you mentioned before, flower arrangements and a couple of things that you mentioned. I think we'll look at it and go, yeah, okay, that's.
The only problem I have with that is, let's say I put in just a painter. I don't want Brenda to have say, well, you have to schedule with Marshall now, because there will be no electrical changes. So,
Electrical's cold.
yeah, so my only problem with what you just said is I don't think that you should have the electrical inspector sign off on everything. If I am making changes to the electrical system, yes, but most of the time I will not be. I'll just be saying, sure, go ahead and paint your picture. No electrical changes.
Because what uses change the electrical schematics. That's all there is to it. It's not
And it sounds
the
like,
same in every single unit.
I think generally it'd be pro forma, but nonetheless.
Yes. Okay.
The inspector, electrical inspector would weigh in,
Okay.
fire marshal would weigh in, and so would we.
Sure.
And the fire chief, right?
So we'll try to get that rewritten and
We'll throw some language together and do another go on, what, the 20th?
If it gets done early enough, maybe a copy could be sent to the applicant to look at. I mean, what I want to do is,
We have
what
to
I
live
would
with
hope that we end up with is a document that clearly states what's allowable. And if there's any issues or uncertainty or additional requirements, then they should be hopefully clearly stated. So once this gets approved and registered, et cetera, in York County, it's the legal document, and we don't have to keep coming back and have a discussion every 6 months on something like this, because it's not productive.
We'll be here
It's not productive,
12 times in the next 12 months.
So we have 12
Some of the
pieces.
studios are smaller than the desk you're sitting at. So we'll be back here 12 times.
Well, my suggestion would be that the applicant, if they have a vision for this project, if the applicant could list for example, uses that you presumably think will occur. Maybe you come up with 10 of them, I don't know, but some number of uses and say, hey, would you guys review and approve this number of uses? And then if it goes outside of that number, then you come back and ask for approval. So you don't have to be going through this whole process again and again and again, because that's not too productive, I don't think.
I would love that. And let me just ask you in that scenario, the local quilter from down the road, she comes to us and she says, I would like to rent for $400 your 200 square foot thing. I think that quilter is a maker. Now, if Brenda says, I agree with you, that's a maker, I would love not to come here with the quilter and say, can she do it?
Well, then my suggestion, if somebody
So-
would put the term maker in and say, for example, EG means, for example, quilter, bump, but, but not make it only limited to those. See my
Well, that's why
point?
I'm trying to say
So in other
artist,
words, but you see.
maker,
I-
craftsman.
My opinion is you are a verbal person, okay? I am a written person. There's a difference there. And what goes around for me is the words, not the words that are in writing, because that's what we have to sign off on. And that way it's there. We don't have to go back, hopefully, and discuss it. Now, this case here, we got a problem because our ordinance is not specific, and the land use is, which is really the subject of all this, is the land use. And that, yes, the ordinance could be more specific on that, but it isn't. So we have to live with what we got. So my suggestion is, let's try to get this as much as possible done in one chunk, if it's possible. And then as changes occur, we come back.
These are not expensive leases, just to be clear.
So they're gonna turn. We're gonna be here all the
You know what
time.
I mean? We're gonna be here, and honestly, it's like, at what point is it even worth it? Because I'm gonna be renting places for $200, $400, $500 a month. These people, first of all, I'm gonna be like, you have to wait 60 days to get on a planning board. We're gonna have to show up, then they're gonna go out of business in 3 months
Not if
after
it's a
that.
typical use, not if it's, I mean.
Okay, I'm misunderstanding that.
That's why I want us
It's
to,
planning for every lease.
I mean, you only want in front of you any outliers, like
Yeah.
remote restoration. But I mean, if it's a quilter, a photographer.
That's what I'm saying, like, these are people that, like, it just doesn't make sense that we would have to come back.
so why not just say artist, maker, craftsman,
Can't do it
which
here.
I would like to do, because then a luthier comes and I say
You
to
know, I would
Brenda,
love to have a luthier.
Brenda, like a luthier, in my opinion,
A lu-
is a craftsman. And she says, she looks up luthier. Yes, indeed, that's a craftsman. I don't have to come back. I'll just get the fire marshal to say, we like the fact that he only has a desk in his 200 square foot facility approved. I won't be here. So I like artist, craftsman, maker. And then Brenda can decide whether she feels comfortable classifying a guitar repairman as a craftsman. If she doesn't, I'll come back and we can debate luthier and how it fits into craftsman, artist, or maker.
A Luther's definitely a craftsman.
Okay. Well, I also think someone who makes wooden canoes is a craftsman. My boat is shorter than the largest wooden canoe I have visited. So now what are we going to talk about?
We're gonna move on for this.
Yes.
I need to move on with my construction.
So-
And I have been approved on this 3 times. Twice. I've been approved on it twice. It's costing us,
Okay, she knows you
Okay.
want, don't get this written up,
Yep. A revised notice of decision,
then we'll go from there.
send it out and
great.
And that's the condition for any proposed use outside of the understanding of artist, craftsman, or maker would be reviewed by,
I can bring it to you.
Yep.
And we are comfortable with that
Okay.
because it meets our intentions exactly.
okay,
The only question I have, I've heard you say, go ahead and issue for our plant studio and for our personal shop, which happens to have a wooden boat in it. I've heard you say, issue that permit. I want to make sure that when I'm asking to move forward with putting in heating, air conditioning, electrical, insulation, new doors and lighting,
That's
where I'm ready to go, I want to make sure that she is comfortable issuing me that building permit. I need that building permit. And I think that you haven't done anything that would make her uncomfortable. I just have, if I can't convince her,
The building permit does not fall under the purview of.
so can I ask you then, I have met every condition that I can think of to get a building permit to finish all those things I just listed. Is there anything holding back?
It's just, I wasn't comfortable with the uses that were out there. I didn't think they fit with the definition that I understood, that the board understood.
Okay,
Now that I've got the director, I'm good.
and we're gonna make this modification.
Mhm.
We'll see you every month or so.
That's not true.
No, you don't have to
No, we don't have
No.
to. They're saying we're okay if it fits within those three, only if outside of that maker. then-
Outliers.
That would be great. That would be lovely. And then, so I just want to, from your perspective, there's nothing holding up the building permit at this point.
As soon as the electrical inspector says that you're in compliance, I'll write you occupancy permits for both units, and then I'll write you a permit for phase two.
We're good. We appreciate your time.
Okay,
We have a nice night.
You too.
Just so you know, a dear
I'm
friend
going
of
for a
mine's
beer.
an artisan craftsman.
What?
A dear friend of mine's an artisan craftsman, and he goes out, and you see those old boats sitting out in the field?
Yeah.
He goes, picks them up and completely redoes them and sells them for a fortune.
Right.
So, and then he also carves natural wildlife.
Does he want to come work in our shop?
He's
I'm not kidding. I mean,
he's actually renting a space down in Kennebec Port.
Well, this is
Right.
better.
No, it's right- his is right in the village, and he has people knocking on his door.
Oh, in the village.
Right in the
Yeah, that's a
village.
little different.
Yeah, he does hand carved whales and ducks and all that.
Oh, cool.
And hand carved whale about that big, $4,700.
Oh, wow. He's doing okay then. Yeah, we're looking for people who are down with Kenny Bumps who want to come to a rural place and be, with nature and get outside and.
He lives in Arundel, and he had to get his shop because zoning wouldn't allow kids to do a shop in residence.
I don't want to hear this.
Don't go anywhere.
Arundel. Different
Have a
municipality.
good night.
So,
Thanks,
we have
guys.
Pamela and Moody Mac.
So, on your situation, what I'd like to request is a lot. And they are in the process of doing, that does come to the planning board under earth moving activities.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Planning board. I would really like you to maybe schedule a site visit earlier than later.
Mhm.
Because needs to be.
Okay.
That's what I'm requesting of you, and then by the next time we'll have the application.
Yep, when you wanna do a sidewalk.
I know you'd like to have an application before you do a sidewalk, but I really would like you
To expedite this one?
to, please.
I'm available anytime.
Well, in terms of public notification, it's, sorry, week.
Got to at least have a week, I mean, minimum of a week. So, are they available?
This is,
I
Thursday,
will
Friday.
notify them.
I'm not opposed to Thursday or Friday.
No, either.
You
What,
want to do it- You're doing one before the next meeting on the 20th.
I can't get back here in time.
No, I was, what I was gonna say is, would you do it the next day, have one the next day?
I don't have a problem with that.
And then it would be on the first meeting in October.
Yep.
Perfect.
Anybody else got a problem with that?
What day we're talking about?
Thursday, September 21st,
Yeah, I can do that. What time?
5:30?
I
Yeah.
think that's ordinance review night, but that's at 6:30, so
That's right.
I think so.
I don't care.
And then on the CEO review, I've got something really, really quick that is just, I'm struggling with. And there again, looking at the land use table, it looks like permanent docks come into the planning board.
Mhm.
Yes.
Believe it or not, so I've got to, so how do I funnel them through you? Do they do it like a site plan review application? What do you want them to do to get here?
This is a first for us, I think. We've never, I mean, the dock permit is a new, it's something new that came
I
about
guess-
just a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
It would have to be a
Yeah.
site plan review.
So my-
There's nothing else to really,
Okay, so most of it will be NA.
yeah,
And,
basically we'd have to make sure that
Hmm.
they had a right of way to the water and,
And it fits within the allowed designs.
yep, and if it's off a right of way, it can't be permanent really.
If it's shared right away, wasn't there a conversation up on Wadley Pond that someone had a dock on the shared right away? and someone didn't like it. This is a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't Monday Pond, it was,
Kennebunk for
it
one.
was kind of like, I think. Yeah, somebody on a right of way, they had, there was a dock there.
Okay. So I
Well,
will have.
Well, I
that.
believe on the right of way, you weren't, if you have a right of way, unless it specifically says you can put a dock in, you can't.
Right.
It's, yeah, this is not a good thing.
Is it on a right of way or is it on their?
It's this far off the land, so it's not land dependent for one. But your ordinance says docks. It doesn't say whether it's water dependent, land dependent, whatever it is.
So we need to follow the state rule, right? Which is of the DEP one,
Must be here.
And that would be,
this one here, right, the guideline for municipal shoreline zoning, chapter 1000, DEP, about docks. And then
Zoning ordinance. Sure.
I'll say annotated context.
43,
43.
in terms of this definition.
Page shoreline.
43, shoreline. Platform used for access to a body, water body, or to secure, protect, and provide access to a boat. Platform may extend from the shore over the water body or may be a floating platform attached to a mooring. The term dock includes a boat lift. The term dock does not include a swim, float, or raft.
I always thought that the docks had to be removed. I think that's a rule of Wadley Pond, that our docks have to come out of the water by,
temporary docks, I have jurisdiction over.
right, you have to, we
According
have
to
to
the land
release
use
them out of the water
Um,
before they sell.
But, and your shoreline zoning ordinance, it's very specific on page 18 about piers, docks, walk, and all of that. And then,
Yep.
very specific, and then it talks, and then when you go to the land use table, it says if it's permanent, and to me, if it's in the water on, what would they be called, piers, I don't know, then that looks permanent to me.
Oh,
Well, it
yeah.
can be floating and non-floating, but
This
doesn't
one
mean
is-
it has to be.
This one's a
permanent.
solid dock.
You can
I mean, it's
still
on
take it out of
piers,
the
so
water.
it's on
Yes, it is.
Some
And it's
islands.
not
islands
floating
at the
glass,
pond.
And it's cemented down, I mean, it kind of
It's
cannot be
permanent, so it's a
removed.
pier.
Well, it's a dock on
Yes.
piers, I think.
See, I'm not, I believe it's permanent. I don't see how they can take that out every fall. Maybe they'll tell me it is. I'll find out before I bring it to you next time. But I did, if it's permanent,
It's got a,
then it should come before you.
yeah, I think so.
I believe it's permanent, but what do I know?
Well, I mean, some of them, I mean, if they've got pilings dug into the floor of the pond, then obviously it's permanent.
I mean, to me, the temporary ones are the ones that have little wheels on the end, and even
Right.
some of them
Right.
have winches where you pull it up.
Pull 'em out, yeah.
For the
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, they
Ours
usually
have
aluminum and
ours
stuff.
have like the barrels underneath it, whatever, we have to take it up every year. But I know my neighbor had to remove his dock because he had made it permanent.
Yeah.
And the DEP made him take it out of the
Mhm.
water, because we have to take it
Yeah, it
out
says
for the
permanent.
winter. I don't know if that's every,
It's unfortunate that the DEP these days is AWOL. If you call them.
Oh, you can't get anything?
You can't. Luckily, I got a CEO roundtable next week with Jeff Killinan from the DEP. And over lunch, I'm gonna try to get real close to where he's eating. But,
No, you're right. It says there, a planning board, if it's a
Yeah.
permanent dock, no question about it.
and then I was trying to look at it, so what criteria do you use and what do you base your vote on and I
Doesn't
didn't see
define it,
anything
huh?
anywhere, so. If you can be thinking about it for the next meeting, I know you're tired tonight, you've had a lot, but you'll be more tired in the morning, aren't you, with the rod?
Yeah, it was 101 degrees where I was working all
Oh, no
day,
kidding.
11 hours of it.
That takes a lot out of you.
Jeez. Time to retire.
If my wife would work 2 jobs, I would.
I think you'll be working for a while. Are we about, you got time for one other thing here?
Probably
No,
not.
it's
but go
making
ahead.
sure.
Mention. I got an email today and I'll just mention it. It was from the town manager and it was a FOA request, whatever, freedom of access, whatever, request. And it said, I received a FOA request for the following documents: all emails, letters, notes, texts, call records, and other forms of inquiries, whether from your personal email, computer, cell phone, and/or other devices that contain information, records of contact and responses made by you to MMA, including responses received from MMA to you from September 5th to 2022 to September 6th, 2023. Please send me a copy of your records as soon as you're able to. You can send electronically or provide printed copies, whichever is convenient to you. So I went and talked to the town manager, and it was from an individual. I won't name the individual, although that's public information. I did a quick look, and I couldn't find any, and I responded that I would receive information from MMA as a planning board member because I signed up with them. And I guess the town looks at the list every year. I didn't realize this, to see whether you're still on the planning board or something. And I don't ask the MMA for anything. To my knowledge, I can't remember that. I hope I'll double check my stuff, but I do use the MMA as references material. Like there's a sample planning board manual on there and a sample select board manual, I think. So I've used that for references, especially for wonderful things like the table of consanguinity, which I note that the new ethics thing that was sent out has that table in it, although I don't think they've used it right, but that's another subject. In any case, so I responded to this, and I also, in my response, said, should you care for me to go through and pull all the ones that I get for classes and things like that? I'll be happy to do so as long as you give me a charge number for my time. And I don't know if that's legal or not, but I also did attend an MMA workshop, which the town paid for, and I provided my own transportation, et cetera. I didn't charge time for that as far as I remember. But anyway, so I also responded to the individual who made the request saying, if you want to, if you got a question, why don't you just ask me the question,
Right.
I don't need to spend my time looking through a year's worth of emails to see if there's a FOA thing here. I want to respond honestly. But so I don't know what the story is. But anyway, but I do use, I want to say for the record, I use the MMA as a reference. And my experience, and I've seen some emails from the MMA, and they're usually weasel worded because it's not say weasel worded. They're written, yes, they are. They're in lawyerly language because they can't support the town. I mean, legally, they can give you an
They're
opinion.
non-committal.
And they're non-committal, and usually they get, by the time you finish reading the darn thing, you don't know whether you started from the beginning or the end.
Right.
But I'm just saying, somebody asked for that. I responded to it. I told the town manager I was going to mention it for the wonderful people watching on the, the YouTube to the planning board tonight. So I'm not sure if there's a story there or not, but we'll see if the person responds to me. And I said, hey, if you want something, why don't you just ask me?
Right.
So I'm an open book. Maybe the book isn't what you want to read, but it's open mostly.
How can they expect you to maintain a long list of personal emails? I mean,
I just went through my list of, I did a search for Maine Municipal Association and looked and see what was there. That's
This
all I
is
could
why
do.
the town should be providing committees with the town.
Bingo.
emails, So that
Yes.
you're not discoverable.
Right.
Yeah.
because yes, after our emails, official emails, they're deleted.
That's what I do too.
I
Well,
got
I've-
too many business emails I'm dealing with that I must maintain.
I'm not as efficient as you are,
And the email
unfortunately.
providers now are squeezing us for space, so they're requiring us to remove.
Anyway, so I just point this out to you just for information only.
Yeah,
No
thank you.
action required. I don't know.
Is that a request for everyone on the planning board?
No, it was just to me individually. So I gave it the full attention it deserved. No, I did. I looked through my emails, but I'm not gonna, if they wanted, I got ones for classes. I've got ones for LD 2003. There was a general email. There's all kinds of emails, but I could print those off, but I'm not doing that unless somebody pays me to do it.
Did everybody get to read the August 16th, 2023 planning board meeting minutes
Yes.
Yes.
And public hearing.
and public hearing?
I
So
think
you have 2 spots to sign. And I put 2 sticky notes.
Yeah.
Do we want to take them individually? I think we need to. Make a motion that we accept the August 16th public hearing minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was absent on that one, so.
We missed you terribly.
Mhm.
He wasn't here?
Joe did a
wasn't.
wonderful
He did do a
job.
wonderful
Sure
job.
he did.
Wonderful
He
job.
stepped up to the plate as vice chair.
Just make contact.
I did include in your packets, or you did, at my request, all the correspondence regarding the cottage, so
Yeah.
that we get you up to speed. What's going back and forth.
Bit of light reading.
You're getting nothing else to do.
We looking for a motion to accept the planning board meetings from August 16th, 2023? So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Barker's Pond Rentals will be here next meeting. He was away, so he could not attend this one. So you can review your sidewalk notes from us, whatever you did on the last time. You have MX 207 information in your folders. She dropped some stuff off. I don't know, it feels like forever ago, but it might have just been a couple days. And we have a pretty full agenda next time too.
Overtime.
They just keep coming in.
I got a question. Normally, we get paid quarterly. Our big,
Oh, that was, by the way, you'll be getting a surprise little tiny baby check
okay,
from that special workshop on LD 2003.
Yeah.
Because I forgot to put you in for that day.
okay, because I
You're
looked at that and
welcome.
went, I thought we had more meetings than that.
I forgot to put you in for that day. You're
Okay.
welcome.
As you
So,
notice, we're doing this to get rich.
Yeah.
Maybe get an Uber to go Orchard Beach versus a shuttle bus.
I don't even know that you'll get that. I know.
This is fun.
We all,
Way too fun.
we all done?
And I saw Paul the other day, he was registering his car, he says, hi.
Oh, good for him.
We do miss him.
Yes.
So I make a motion, we'll close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
8:21. Our last meeting was what, 3 hours and something minutes?
I don't know.
Yeah, it ended at
After 9.
Yeah.
9:50.